If your resolution for next year is to play even more awesome games, well, you're in luck because there's actually a boatload of great titles on the way in 2024. So why don't we take a look at them? First up, The Prince of Persia is back and looking more regal than ever in The Lost Crown. We actually got a chance to play it earlier this year and absolutely loved it, as you can see from our gameplay right here, so this is definitely one to watch. You can bound across the screen in a side-scrolling action-adventure as you immerse yourself in a world of Persian mythology. The prince's acrobatic skills are going to come in particularly handy when you're facing off with one of the game's many screen-filling bosses, allowing you to pull off some pretty impressive combos, so long as you can avoid getting squished like a little bug. Although, if that does happen, you can always call on your time-bending powers to help turn back the clock. Very handy. The Lost Crown is very much a classic Prince of Persia adventure that also sends the series wall running off in a brand new direction.
Phoenix Wright's famous trilogy recently came crashing onto Game Pass, and since there were no objections, we've got another trio of courtroom capers coming to Xbox Series X and S. Apollo Justice gets his own collection of weird and wacky cases to work through, from the heinous theft of an innocent noodle cart to a mysterious hit and run. There's even a story involving a missing pair of pants, so this trilogy seriously has it all. It certainly has a ton of fascinating characters for players to interview, colour crime scenes for them to investigate, and dramatic courtroom scenes for them to yell their way through. So if you're in the mood for more trials and tribulations, check out Apollo Justice's Ace Attorney trilogy.
Let me bring you up to speed on this one. Kazuma is fresh from becoming a super spy, and Ichiban has just pummeled his way through Japan's underworld, so it's safe to say that both of them could use a bit of a break, which might be why they're jetting over to Hawaii for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The latest game in this long-running series is going to feature more bone-crunching turn-based action as players build their own teams of unlikely heroes, each with their own spectacular special moves. But it's also going to let players take things a little easier as they run their very own island resort, tending to their customers' every need and generally just maintaining a fun, festive vibe. Honestly, I might spend more time on that mode than the main game.
Kicking its way into January with the latest King of the Iron Fist tournament is Tekken 8. This legendary arcade fighting series is back with a bang, featuring cutting-edge visuals that unleash the full might of the Xbox Series X and S. Colourful characters like King and Leroy will look even more vibrant with HDR10, while those 60 FPS frame rates move smoother than Eddie Guerrero. Those classic characters will be joined by some fun newcomers, like the brawling barista Azucena, to ensure that this edition of the tournament is the most explosive one we've seen to date.
And as February begins, Game Pass members will be getting another Persona game to add to their collection with this stunning remake of the third title. Persona 3 Reload takes the eye-watering anime style, slick UI, and all those tasty quality of life updates that Persona 5 Royal enjoyed and brings them to this iconic JRPG. This time around though, you'll be exploring both the charming community of Port Island and the eerie realm of the Dark Hour, which is kind of this spooky dimension that's outside of day and night where ugly things lurking in our subconsciouses can come creeping out to play. It's a cozy life sim, it's an epic turn-based RPG. It's all of this and so much more. I mean, it's Persona 3 Reload.
You'll probably have thrown some of your resolutions to the wayside by the time this comes around, so why not break bad in style with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? In this open-world actioner, players will get to take control of 4 delightfully villainous characters: Harley Quinn, Deadshot, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang. Not everyone loves him at first, but they always come around. Rope in 3 of your buddies for some chaotic co-op or go it solo, either way you're in for a blockbusting experience as you and your evil crew try to free Metropolis from the even eviler hands of Brainiac.
Yeah, new games are cool and all, but why don't we give some of the elder gamers a bit of a nostalgia trip? Back in 1995, some clever so-and-so figured that the galaxy far, far away might actually be a dope setting for a first-person shooter. Thus, Star Wars Dark Forces was born and history was made. But you know what? History doesn't always come with the slick resolutions and high-quality textures that we've kind of gotten used to, which is why Dark Forces is going to be getting a beautiful new remaster. Join up with the Rebellion's Covert Ops Division and infiltrate the Empire across 14 thrilling levels using blasters, bombs, and just whatever else comes to hand to help you take them down. And you know what? So long as you can aim better than a stormtrooper, you've got a pretty good chance. And if not, well, work on it.
If you're wondering what the best named game of 2024 will be, then you can stop, because it's Unicorn Overlord. While it won't have you commanding horned stallions as the title would suggest, Unicorn Overlord will put you in charge of a vast army as you controlled an exiled prince who's looking to reclaim his throne. By collecting allies from across the realm, you'll be able to take part in cinematic battles that blend real-time action and turn-based strategizing in an intriguing way. And even if you have no tactical chops whatsoever, you'll still be able to enjoy Unicorn Overlord's painterly visuals.
Now, if you're a Game Pass member who loved Sea of Stars just like I did, and you're in the market for another modern spin on that classic JRPG formula, you should definitely have your calendars marked for April 23rd, when Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes arrives day 1 to the service. And that title is no exaggeration either. There are 100 playable characters to utilize as you slice, smash, and spellcast your way through a war-torn fantasy realm. They all bring their own combat abilities to the table, and the game's finely crafted 6-character battle system is going to provide players with all sorts of ways to mix them up. 100 Heroes will also make the Game Pass collection that much prettier, with a distinctive visual style that melds 2D sprites and 3D backgrounds into something exceptionally beautiful.
This year starts with a scare as the granddaddy of survival horror comes shuffling back out of the shadows. This beautifully rebooted version of Alone in the Dark features 2 protagonists for the players to pick between as they explore Deserto Manor, a place with a grisly past and a less than fantastic present. If you want to drag all of its secrets into the light, then you'll have to think fast, fight hard, and, when the situation calls for it, run for your gosh darn life. Alone in the Dark arrives early next year, and you can check out the prologue section for free right now to give you a terrifying taste of what's coming. One of the most dizzyingly unique looking games to come out in 2024 is Black Myth Wukong, a Souls-like based on Chinese mythology that seems brutally difficult and beautiful in equal measure. Playing as the heroic monkey, you'll need to prove your worth by journeying through the game's breathtaking fantasy world and ducking it out with an array of strange and deadly enemies. Emphasis on the strange part. Actually the deadly part too. We cannot wait for this one here on Xbox On. For more info, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell.
Right, we're going to move on to some games now that don't exactly have a definitive release date yet, but they all look absolutely sick. 33 Immortals is one of them, and it's set to come straight to Game Pass in early access from sometime in the first part of 2024. This is a co-op roguelike that allows you and 32 of your nearest and dearest to go crawling through dungeons together, hacking your way through whatever hideous monsters and humongous bosses that you happen to encounter. Experiment with different weapons and upgrade your character with powerful tools as you look to take revenge upon an unreasonable god. And do you know what? It's about time we did that.
Also arriving in the early part of 2024, Dustborn is a story-driven adventure about the power of words. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical Dead Poet Society-ish way. In this game, your character can actually use their words as weapons. As you and your crew of misfit musicians explore the game's alternative emetica, you'll pick up new phrases which allow you to manipulate and devastate anyone who stands against you. With its graphic novel-ish style and its wild cast of characters, Dustborn is simply bursting with personality. Game Pass players will also be the first to wander into Stalker 2's exclusion zone when it arrives early next year. Admittedly, there's something of mixed blessing, given the place is filled with deadly mutants, strange monsters, and other paranormal bits and pieces. Not exactly the most relaxing place in the world, but this stunningly detailed open world makes one heck of a setting for a chilling, thrilling first-person shooter. It really feels like a living, breathing place too, thanks to its immersive survival mechanics and complex life simulation system. Although how long you get to remain a living, breathing part of it will depend on how good your aim is.
By next spring, PC gamers will have been running things in City Skylines 2 for a while, so you know what? It's only fair that console players get a shot as well. This city building game allows you to construct your very own metropolis, street by street and building by building. Of course, the bigger you grow, the more complex the problems you'll face as you try to keep your citizens happy, your economy booming, and all that noxious pollution just someplace else. I don't know, find somewhere. Each and every choice you make will ripple out through the game's complex simulation, so think carefully about each one. Or, like me, you could just make decisions totally at random and just revel in the chaos. Yeah, that's fun.
The creators of Dear Esther and Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs will be back for another chilling first-person tale called Still Wakes the Deep. This is what I'm most looking forward to. This time around, players will find themselves navigating an offshore oil rig in the middle of a raging storm in the North Sea, which is already a seriously less than ideal situation, and that's before we get to the nightmarish creature that has made its way on board. With nothing but your wits to help you survive, Still Wakes the Deep promises to be a real white-knuckle affair when it comes day one to Game Pass next year.
Pillars of Eternity fans are going to get to explore the world of Eora from a whole new vantage point with the first-person RPG, Avowed. Arriving day one on Game Pass courtesy of the brilliant folks at Obsidian. Oh, thank you very much, guys. Avowed stars an envoy sent to investigate the rumours of a mysterious plague spreading across the land. Now, not everyone you meet is going to be thrilled about your investigation, so prepare to combine gunplay, swordplay, and spell play? Yeah, to devastate your enemies. Combining that magic with melee and gunplay looks so fun that Avowed will probably have you hoping to run into enemies. And yeah, I'm sure you'll get around to solving that whole plague business at some point as well. Maybe.
Blue Protocol is an MMORPG that lets players start in their very own anime adventure. Build your own custom character, kit them out with some nice threads, and then head out into the vast world filled with futuristic technology and ancient mysteries. Blue Protocol is all about accessibility too, with a combat system featuring simple, customizable controls that are ideal for all playstyles and ability levels. Whether you want to take on towering raid bosses alongside tons of other players, or just go adventuring with your friends, Blue Protocol lets you decide where the story goes.
Industry legends Suda51 and Suiri are collaborating on a new game. A tranquil, slice-of-life sim that's all about the importance of being nice. Nah, just kidding. Obviously, it's a hyper-violent, ludicrously over-the-top action game packed with pop culture references and bizarre humour. Yeah, I thought that might get you excited. Hotel Barcelona is a side-scrolling actioner that draws from classic horror movies to deliver spectacular boss fights and blood-splattering action. Juicy. If you end up being the one who gets splattered though, don't worry, because the slasher phantom mechanic allows players to team up with their past selves to level the playing field. It's pretty clever. Stylish, weird, and just a little bit gross, Hotel Barcelona looks like everything we could ask for from these two twisted minds.
Asymmetrical horror games based on classic horror movies are all the rage these days, and next year those killer clowns from outer space will be getting in on the action. As the clowns, you'll be leading the alien invasion and figuring out the most efficient way to harvest all those juicy humans. And as the humans, you'll be running, hiding, and trying not to get harvested. It might sound like a classic cat and mouse, extraterrestrial clown and terrified victim situation, but the game's dynamic objects are sure to keep the player on their toes. Until the clowns come and eat them, that is.
Game Pass members are going to get to meet the one cat that curiosity could not kill in Little Kitty, Big City. Your goal in this open world adventure is to find a way home, eventually. Along the way, you'll have the chance to make friends with other animals, collect new cosmetics to dress up in, or just run around causing absolute havoc for no discernible reason. You know, just like a cat. And if, like me, you had fun tomcatting about in Stray and you fancied some more feline fun, Little Kitty, Big City looks like the perfect place to spend your life. Or 9.
Nothing is quite so scary when we have someone to face it down with, although Little Nightmares 3 might really put that theory to the test. The third entry in the spooky puzzle platformer series adds co-op into the freaky formula, as two characters named Lo and Alone try to find a way out of the frightening place known as Nowhere. There are lots of secrets to be found out in this desert, and almost all of them are kind of terrifying. So grab your bravest friend and get ready for Little Nightmares 3.
The team behind Persona will be back next year with another devastatingly stylish anime RPG called Metaphor ReFantazio. The first trailer showed off a lot of stuff that we loved from the Persona games. Beautifully animated cutscenes, turn-based battles against weird creatures, the chance to bond with a cast of distinctly styled characters, and throws in some awesome new elements like a lavish fantasy setting and futuristic skateboarding. So if you're a fan of Atlus's unique brand of JRPG adventure, then you definitely should keep your eye out for Metaphor ReFantazio.
Guttling its way onto Game Pass as a Day 1 edition, Another Crab's Treasure is almost certainly going to be 2024's best crustacean-based Souls-like. We played this at Gamescom 23 and frankly have been itching to get our claws on it ever since. Playing as a simple hermit crab, you'll be duking it out with some of the ocean's most formidable creatures. Some of these guys really pack a punch, especially those mantis shrimps, so you'll want to scour the seabed for anything you can use as a shell. From old shoes to empty bottles, and a few more surprising options, these shells will provide you with all kinds of extra abilities to help you out. Be warned though, this is one of those Souls-like that might make you a bit crabby.
The Microsoft Flight Simulator series is going to be soaring to new heights next year with a brand new entry, which naturally is going to glide straight into Game Pass. Now that is a smooth landing. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 promises a truly next-gen experience, taking advantage of all of the latest technology to provide a sim experience that is more realistic and more detailed than ever before. We don't have much in the way of details yet, but given how impressive the current game already is, it's safe to say that you could probably set your expectations for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 to sky high.
The creators of Gris will be back in 2024 with another emotionally charged, visually stunning adventure called Neba. This time around, players will follow a young woman and a curious wolf cub as they embark on a dangerous journey through a decaying world. The further they press on, the more their relationship will grow, presenting new opportunities and new challenges for them to overcome. Neba looks every bit as evocative and unique as Gris, and if you haven't checked that one out yet, you can grab it from Game Pass to see what these guys are all about.
Now, Replaced is set in an alternate 1980s where things have gone seriously off the rails. A nuclear catastrophe has devastated the world, and rich people are now stealing organs from the poor. It's a pretty rubbish version of the 80s, to be honest. I bet they don't even have Ghostbusters. Ugh. You'll be navigating this grim, gorgeous 2.5D world as an AI that's been trapped inside a human body. Keeping your precious, meaty parts from being snatched is going to require a mixture of fight and flight as you dash through cinematic platforming sections and smash your way through the fast-paced melee encounters. Replaced is absolutely dripping with style, brimming with atmosphere, and bursting with action. It's going to come day one to Game Pass.
Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is easily one of 2024's biggest releases, and Game Pass members will be there on day one to see what terrifying new sights and sounds it has in store. Poor Senua was already put through it in the award-winning original game, and the sequel looks every bit as gnarly, with Ninja Theory pulling out all the stops to make this third-person adventure as immersive and atmospheric as possible. The next chapter in the Hellblade story takes us to Iceland, a setting that the developers have captured in stunning detail. It's hard to say what Senua will encounter out there, but going from the spine-tingling trailers we've seen so far, it's going to be something she won't forget in a hurry.
This is probably my most anticipated game, but later in 2024, we'll be making another trip to the Star Wars universe for Outlaws. This third-person adventure puts players in control of a scoundrel named Kay Vess, as she tries to pull off the biggest heist that the Outer Rim has ever seen. After all, you know how we Star Wars fans love a good scoundrel. Kay's journey will give players the chance to go speeding across iconic planets like Tatooine, as well as new worlds that have been created fresh for the game. Along the way, you'll get to befriend a charming new cast of characters and deal with the less charming ones using stealth, gadgets, and your trusty blaster.
There are no two words more guaranteed to put a smile on a kid's face than Snow Day. Well, except maybe South Park, so imagine how happy they'll be when those two wonderful concepts are brought together next year. South Park Snow Day is a 3D co-op adventure which sees Cartman, Stan, Kenny, and Kyle battling their way through town to save it from an endless winter. And there's also a new kid. Gotta have a new kid. And with special moves, weapons, cosmetics, all drawn from the show, South Park Snow Day promises to be as obscene and as absurd as we've come to expect.
Yeah, I bet you think you've seen some plucky squires in your time, but let me tell you, the star of this cartoon platformer is sure to put them all to shame. I mean, look at all that pluck. This one blends 2D and 3D platforming into one seamless adventure. It's a whimsical game which will have players hopping in and out of storybooks as our titular squire searches for a story in which he can be the hero. As he works his way from page to page, he'll have the chance to operate a jetpack, box with a badger, and take part in tons of hilarious minigames. With its cheerful visuals and wacky sense of humour, the plucky squire looks destined for a happy ending when it arrives next year. And honestly, I've never seen a bad game published by Devolver, so bring it on.
When primeval creatures and advanced technology collide, the results are always pretty spectacular. And they're on the collision course once again in the later part of next year, thanks to Ark 2. The sequel to this beloved third-person survival game looks set to up the ante in every possible way, with an epic story, a star-studded cast, deeper crafting mechanics, intense Souls-like combat, advanced animal AI, and dynamic world events, all combining to make one of the year's most exhilarating immersive experiences. And if you fancy some time-bending, dino-riding fun in the meantime, you can check out the original game in its stunning new next-gen form with Ark Survival Ascended.
With so many amazing titles on the way, the biggest challenge in 2024 might just be finding the time to play them all. But what are your most anticipated titles for next year? Hit the comments to let us know, and be sure to subscribe for all the latest news about all of these enticing games. Bye!